All right, so keeping with the dystopianness for a little bit longer, let me talk
Right.
for a bit about the Electric State, right? Which, just confession time, I knew little to nothing about the show outside the fact that it was a sci-fi and it's
Well, it's
on
the
Netflix,
Russells,
right?
right? So,
Yes, yes, yes. Well,
it's the Russells.
that was actually the main reason why I wanted to see
As the
this,
hype,
right?
yeah, yeah,
It's
exactly.
from
And
Anthony and
yeah,
Joe Russo.
every non MCU Russell thing is not hot. So to be honest, I would have never be if it wasn't for that episode of Community. I would not be excited for the two of them coming in if they had a track record outside the MCU. But we get solid movies from them in the MCU, so I don't know what's going on, but we will find out. Yeah, what's going on with this?
Yeah, and speaking of that now, because I mean, yes, we love we love Captain America Winter Soldier, we love Civil
Right?
War, we love Avengers
Yep.
Endgame, and
Right.
Infinity War and Endgame, right? But yeah, when it
Right.
came to like the post MCU work, we talked about Cherry, didn't care for that. I talked about the
Right.
Grey Man, did not care for that movie at all. I kind
Right.
of flat
Right.
out
Right.
hated it. Um,
Right.
and now here we are with this new film here, The Electric Seat, right? Which is also, released through Netflix, right? Similar to The Green Man, right? It also features, MCU alumni Chris Pratt, right? He's in it as well, right? But another reason, why I wanted to see this too is this is another feature film, headline by Eleven herself, Millie Bobby Brown, right?
Okay, okay, no problem.
Yeah, she is technically the star of the film, right? People will look at the marketer and think, oh, it's Chris Pratt, right? But no, this is a Bobby Brown film, right? But for me, right, not saying that I am the biggest fan of her work, right? I really enjoy Stranger Things, and I'm really excited for
Right.
the final season, which I
Right.
believe we're supposed to get in.
But I love Enola Holmes. The first one at least.
Yes,
Second one
yes.
was kind of silly, but the first one I thought was actually pretty good.
Yeah. And I do like that, Millie is, honing her acting and her producing work, through Netflix, right? Through these films, right? But I know that there was this one film that she brought out last year called Damsel, which I heard was bad,
Right.
and even our
Right.
colleague Tracy Hutchins said it was bad. So it was like,
Yeah, I didn't see this at all, and yeah, I kind of heard about it, but it just kind of passed me. I didn't kind of, yeah, I just, I didn't hear anything good about it, so like I didn't worry about it. But I heard about it, yeah. So moving on, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I more see, the Electric State as just, similar to a show that we'll talk about later on. Before the final season of the show that I am in drops, yeah, let's do this film, kill some time, what I mean? Just get the show out the way, and then I just jump back into Stranger Things, right? This is how I see the Electric State, right? But after the fact, right? After the fact, I found out, right? Well, I should say before I even jumped into this in the first place, I was hearing some bad reviews about this. That iffy, yeah? I was hearing bad reviews about it, right?
Right, me too, yeah. I saw pretty bad reviews as well.
Yeah, one article in particular calling this show joyless. And while I was
Right.
watching this show, I was like, joyless? You sure? You know what I mean?
Okay.
But after the fact, after I watched this film, right, which I actually did on the morning of me, reviewing this here, right, I realized that this movie costs $320 million.
What? How? How is it so expensive?
I know, by Netflix standards, that's kind of insane, Dread.
Yeah,
That's kind of insane. Yeah.
Sounding like a scam. Smelling a scam.
Yeah.
$320 million. What? How? That's insane.
So what the show is about, right? So it is similar to
They pay $100 million alone to we call him to
Chris Pratt.
Oh gosh, not Chris Pratt. Well, the actors, but anything in this too. We call him oh gosh, Sidewinder. No, gosh.
Yes. Well, yes. So you knew this? Okay, yes. Giancarlo Esposito also is in this as well, including Stanley Tucci, right? I didn't even know neither actor was in this, right? I just knew
I knew he was in
knew Millie. That was all.
Okay.
Yeah. So what is it about, right? This is actually, similar to Mickey 17, based off of a novel, a graphic novel, if I'm not mistaken, which came out in the 2010s, if I'm not mistaken, right? Very, it was critically acclaimed and all that kind of stuff. And after seeing this show, I really would love to read, to check it out for myself, right? because yeah, a lot of the reviews that have been coming out for this film have been comparing the source material to this film, right? So what's it about? It's centered in the United States, right? But this is an alternate, reality, right? So it starts off in 1990, right? And you see where these robots, well, actually throughout this, American history, right? Yeah, robots have been a part of just American culture and lifestyle, right? But
Right,
as you would
right.
expect in a show like this, the robots are doing all these menial tasks, right? And they're like, you know what, we want more, we deserve our rights, right? And there's these humans, these rich bastards who just like, no, you know what, you're human, I mean, you're robot, sorry, shut up and do your work, right? So yeah, surprise, surprise, some of the robots rebel, right? They form groups and they rebel, and there's a war that takes place, and it goes on for about 3 years, and well, it actually ends in 1993, if I'm not mistaken, right? So cut to 1994, right? And we are reintroduced because yes, as the story begins, in 1990, we are introduced to the character of Michelle Green, who is played by Millie Bobby Brown, right? Yeah, we're introduced to her brother Chris, who is established early on to be this like super genius, right? He knows a lot about science and all that kind of stuff, right? Yeah, so when this war actually ended in 1993, well, we
Right.
now cut to 1994, right? And Michelle is now, a foster kid. She's under the care of this guy who just doesn't care about anything, right? He pretty much is swept up in this more or less like this virtual reality program that was created before the war, called the Neurocaster, right?
Right.
It's basically this VR headset that you wear, and you have a drone robot that goes around. So basically, the drone robot could do whatever you ask it to do, while you just pretty much sit there, and you could go about living your virtual reality fantasies, if you will, right? So it's like that, right? But the creator of that item, right? And the drone robot to extent, right? His name is Ethan Skate. He is played by Sally Tucci, right? So yeah, after the war now, his company pretty much like kind of runs the world, through that whole virtual reality thing, right? So one night now, Michelle is visited by this robot, right? And as I mentioned too, it's established early on that one of the robots that became part of like American pop culture in the lens of this film here is a robot by the name of Cosmo, right? Because there was this 60s like TV series, this animated series now, about dedicated to them, right? So
Right, right,
it's
right.
it's, it's kind of like Astro Boy, but more in a
Right.
American 60s kind of fashion. So it's like
Okay,
that,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so the robot just sort of visits her, like just kind of crashes into the home one night, right? And it's revealed that this robot may or may not have the consciousness of her deceased brother, right? Because I should also
Right,
mention
right.
too that yeah, Michelle's brother and parents passed away, right? In an unfortunate car accident, right? So yeah, she wants to know what's going on. Is her brother still alive? Who implanted his consciousness into this robot. So this sets her off into this adventure where she basically has to go into this wasteland, right? Where, all these like outcasted robots were sent to, right? But there was a treaty that was signed, some years back, or I should say after the war, between, the robots and Ethan Skate, right? Pretty much say that, the robots will kind of go about their lives without being harmed by any human, right? So they kind of go about their business like that, right? At the same time, while, Michelle is on her adventure, she runs into this old, well, I think well, not so much a colonel, but he was involved in the war, right? Who is played by Chris Pratt, right? Now just get his name here quickly. Yeah, John Keats, right? He served in the war, and in
Right.
during the war, he actually befriends a robot by the name of.
Right. So it's not the so that's not how different it is from the John David Washington, vehicle that came out last 2 years, so year
Oh,
before.
what is by the creator? Oh
The
yeah,
creator
yeah, yeah. That's
yeah, yeah.
that's a good point. Good thing you bring up that though. But yeah, well, let's wrap up here, right? So, yeah, John actually, befriends a robot by the name of by the name of Herman, who is played by Anthony Mackie of all people. I like swear to God
Okay, he in this.
when I
Okay,
saw
I
that
know.
name, I was like, what?
Okay.
How? I
No, it
hearing
was.
the voice and like, boy, I don't know
I
if
don't
you're
know.
just
I know this
digitizing, boy, but
Maki in business body
I
paper,
couldn't
you
pick
know.
up that
He
man
does
voice, boy.
whatever you ever it is to get money, because he enough movies, you know, and Netflix, he getting
Yeah,
cash.
and look, he do the twisted metal thing. Look, a season 2 coming out just now.
Right,
So yeah, the
right.
man literally would do anything. The man keep it busy.
Yeah, yeah, because
I can't get mad. I can't
he
be
was,
mad at that.
no, he was around. I noticed, well, he have a kind of, I think he have a make a big time contract with Netflix, I think so, because he was doing a bunch of stuff.
Right,
He did,
right,
maybe
right. I know he was in
I
that
think,
one sci-fi movie that I didn't care for, but
right.
I talked about. Yeah, yeah,
He
he was
was in the
doing
Black
things.
Mirror one too.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
go ahead,
yes.
yeah.
You're
Go
right.
ahead.
Yeah, yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, John and Herman and Michelle and Cosmo all meet up, and are basically together. They're looking for this particular scientist who actually is played by we boy Ki Hui Kwan. Yeah,
Right
yeah,
on.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Short wrong, man.
Yeah, Short Round is in this as well.
Yeah.
I didn't even know this, right? Yeah, he used to work for Eaton at a point in time, but things didn't play out well at all. But then also too,
Right.
the mere fact that this Cosmo robot is running around kind of have Eaton on edge. So yeah, he hires Giancarlo Esposito to basically track this guy, right? And well, track
Right.
everybody. I will stop there, right? So about that budget, right?
But
If you had told me
it's all the actors. That's why.
that's the thing, like
Guys, yeah, it had to be the actors. Like it can't be like, look, I know these movies have some good special effects. But look, it's Netflix and it's all the names. It's clearly them actors.
yeah.
Because what you call it, the one with Rock the other day was like real expensive.
Which one? Not Red Notice. No.
No, that I think that too, but it had another one. Or something came out with Rock and it was real expensive and it was real shit. Which one
On
is that?
Netflix. You sure?
Think so. Or some either Rock or somebody famous or one of them. But it was like another thing that just come across like a scam. No? But again, it's not a scam. It's just like actors just have a good like agent.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
it.
yeah. So
Yes, have
say
a good agent. And Netflix had the money to burn for some reason.
yeah.
So you
So
know.
here's the thing with me on the show, right? So me going in blind, right, not knowing what the premise is about. I just know future robots,
Yeah,
Millie,
well,
Chris. Yeah, yeah,
alternate history, not
alternate
future.
history,
Okay, you
all that
see?
kind of stuff, right?
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
right.
So I just knew just very scant details, right? But I didn't know what the full story
Right.
was about, right? So what I will say, as somebody who was introduced to the world of the electric state just first hand, right, not having a clue as to what the story is about, the movie itself is fine. It is
Okay.
okay. It's harmless. It does what it's supposed to do. It's entertaining enough. It fun to watch. It was I shouldn't say fun. It was engaging to watch. I didn't feel like I was like it was a waste of it didn't feel like a chore. It didn't feel like I was wasting my time. It was serviceable. That's the best compliment I can give the show. It was serviceable, right? But then two things, right? After the fact, that budget and the fact that it is from a graphic novel, so it's based off of existing source material, right? Because I read in some reviews that it pretty much changed the perspective, or it just changed the source material. It took like these creative changes, right? I don't want to say it's like what Bong Joon Ho did with Mickey 17, but like
Right.
yeah, like there was a lot of changes done. But I
No,
think
but
it was
I know that had real changes.
yeah.
Like I watched a couple of reviews and I thought it had way more changes than I thought it would have had otherwise. Because I don't know how much changes this have to. I know some video on YouTube will tell me.
Right. So for the source material, right? So apparently changes were made, right? So but how it sounds like it was almost to kind of make the story more appealing or more easier to understand or something like that, right? So I could understand why, they would make this decision to do this, right? When I say they, I mean the Russos and whoever else is involved in the production of this film, right? Including Netflix, right? But there's a part of me that feels like, okay, well, if people are complaining about you diverting so much from the source material, I just wondered if there could have been some considerable effort to at least stay true to the source material, because I heard like in
Right.
terms of how it's presented, it's way different than how you see it here. Like here is just
Right.
more streamlined, straightforward
Well, I
narrative,
mean,
but like the
like
book is
you
much
might make a
different.
bunch of choices. You might make a bunch of choices. Like okay, so like the classic example is Starship Troopers, right?
Right.
Very deliberately like uh parody of the original source material, but to highlight the argument to argumentum ad absurdum level of the argument, right? That's how I always look at Starship Troopers. Bunch of changes, kind of. He said, "Look, he think the source material is some fascist shit, so he just carry the fascist shit to a ridiculous end. You know, whether or not you think that's in good faith or not, it clearly is mean spirited. But like he, to me, as far as he concerned, he didn't differentiate from what the material is." Right, unless you're gonna do something with it or change something. Like from what I understand, Mickey 7 and Mickey 17 does a big change as well. So it's up to you to say, all right, does this work or not? And here's a great example of changing the material to make it flow better as a story. Arrival, right? The short story it's based on very different in terms of handling the material and how it works. And I kind of understand why he would make these changes, even though I think the changes hurt the narrative. You know, I get it. Like I get why he would make some of those changes. I can at least understand the logic, or at least where the headspace is to do that. So I don't know. Like it's up to them what kind of changes you want to make or not. I don't know. Like it'll just be those calls when the time happen. Now. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I understand, right? So yeah, you know what? While I do appreciate the film for the story it told and whatnot, a part of me feels like there should have been a greater effort to at least stay true to the source material. You know, so when I
Right,
do
right,
get around to reading it for myself, I'll be like, yeah, this okay, like all right, the Russos really did adapt this faithfully, right? Instead of just making
right.
changes and I don't want to say watering it down, but just making it more palatable, if you will, for mainstream audiences, right? And that leads to, the whole budget issue, right? 320 million. Imagine that for a show that is coming out on a streaming platform, only in a streaming platform, right?
They had to pay them actors. Because
Yeah,
when you
yeah,
telling me that these big a set of big stars in it, how many big stars have in this?
yeah. And
Like
and
20
when
big
and when
stars.
you actually see the credits, right? You'll be
Yeah,
shocked at just the names that pop up, right? And some of them
yeah,
actually just do voices, for the robots, right? I'll talk about them robots in a bit, right? So yes, admittedly, I was just left there wondering, wow, like half that budget went to just, or I should say 2/3 of that budget went into paying these actors, right? But
yeah,
so here's the thing, it looks good. The show looks good, It has a cinematic-esque look to it, right? But
right, right.
listen, it's Netflix, and we've seen these shows for years now, right? So yes, they do have a professional quality to things, right? It's like watching an HBO show, for example, and then comparing it to like a Hollywood film, right? It's the same thing, right?
Right.
Netflix, same thing, right? That's how I see it, right?
Yeah.
So while yes, the visuals look really, really good, right? And cinematography, what they look good,
Right. Right.
if I saw this like on a big screen, I would have been like, but it's kind of looking like a little cheap. It almost, I don't want to say
Right.
cheap. It looked like they kind of skimp out, like they kind of held back the budget to pay actors, right? And I
Right.
got that while I was watching this. Like, what I thought about it was like, again, if I saw this
You know
on a
what?
big
Like
screen, I'd be like,
Netflix.
nah, boy. Like,
Yeah, very rarely. Netflix is almost never like impressed me with visuals. Like almost never.
right.
Like at least when it comes to like special effects or visual effects, right? CGI stuff, never, almost never. So I don't know. It don't bother me one way or the other to think about it. So
Yeah.
I it's on Netflix. Like Netflix is look away.
Yeah. And okay, so understand where I'm coming from, folks, but again, think about that figure, 320 million, right? So when you think about that though, like in terms of visuals, right? You hear sci-fi, you hear 320 million, right? Instinctively, you should think that this show should like give you something that you never saw before, some kind of grand visual. Like let me just say, for example, like
Yeah,
Avatar, for
exactly.
example, like Avatar or Avatar, the what is the something of water? Avatar 2,
Way of water.
the way of water, right,
Second
right,
one.
right, yeah, yeah. Something like that.
Second
Does like when you hear a budget being super high for a sci-fi film, you watch it like, yeah, like look at these shots, look at the visuals, like you could see it, through the visuals. I didn't really see that through the visuals, but that's not to say that the visuals are terrible. It's just that they don't look like 320 million visuals. That's the best way I could sum it up. It is painfully clear that roughly a half, I could make the argument, it could be 2/3 of that budget went into people's pockets.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Chris get the most because of he name. And that's a touch on the acting, right? The acting is fine. Millie Bobby
Right.
Brown is fine, right? It's not like she was sleepwalking through it. You could tell she put effort into it, right? I'm not gonna say it's a truly memorable role of her, right? Like I would still say that Enola Holmes and 11 to extent, are more memorable than what she does here, right? But she
Right.
fine and she nail a convincing enough American accent, so that's fine, right? When it comes to Chris Pratt, right? Let's see that he was half-assed it, right? And it's so funny while I was watching him throughout the show. I was thinking about a little movie that we covered back during the pandemic called The Tomorrow War. Remember that?
Yep. Yep. That
Yeah.
lazy bullshit.
So
Terrible.
it's like that where you could tell that he was casted because he is likable. And yes, they do a good job in making him likable enough, even though he comes off as an asshole, like he's introduced as one, so he's not a colonel anymore. But I like how in this world he's set up as just this guy, this hustler who just collects a whole bunch of collectibles, like old 80s collectibles, and sells them on the black market. That's pretty much what he does. I like that as a concept. I actually like that. I think that's really, really clever, right? So you had to get,
Yeah.
a smart ass, you had to get somebody who could sell that, right? But because of Chris Pratt and his star quality, yeah, it's just pretty much Chris Pratt that I've seen on screen, right? Yes, I mean he do hear him different, it's like he's not playing, he's not typecast, if you will, right? But
Right.
I still see Chris Pratt. I've not seen the character that he's played, right? And you could tell that he was just there to draw in eyeballs, like, oh my god, a movie on Netflix
Yeah.
with
Just.
Chris Pratt. I
Just.
need to see this
Yeah.
man.
Just. Yeah.
That's what he
Just.
did.
Yeah. So this whole movie screams from the producers of, right? Like it's that.
Yes, it's that, it's
Yeah,
that, it's that.
it's that, right? But they have a bunch of names, so it's like I don't like. I don't know it had all of this in it. Like I know it had John Carlo in it, and that kind of thing. But like, wow.
Yeah, yeah. I
So
was surprised that Ki Hui Kwan was in it as well. And I mean,
yeah,
he there, he do his thing, he's cool. Didn't expect to see Sally Tucci. He was good as a villain. That memorable. Same thing goes as to Giancarlo Esposito. So he's like the sidewinder, the S character who kind of hunts down our heroes and all that kind of stuff, right?
right.
Um,
Yeah.
the robots, I would say, just design wise, look really cool. I like that they do
Okay.
incorporate like old, commercial designs and whatnot, right? So you'll see stuff that look like something out of like an old 80s or 70s cartoon. There is a particular character who looks like the friggin' Planters logo. It is the Planters logo, well, the character, the
Right.
mascot,
Right.
actually. It
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
him, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. And that was pretty cool though. Just taking like old iconography, but just reworking it, as robots, right? I also like how I like the retro tech look of things. So yes, it is an altered reality, yes, but it really does. There's like these little slight little callbacks to, oh, like I remember that from the 90s, like You Got Meal. Like, that was pretty cool. Like there's a You Got
Right. Right.
Meal
Right.
moment. I was like, oh, okay, that's cool, right? There's
So
references to
they play with
old
the whole they play with
brands
the
and stuff.
whole oh god, what is this? What was the name of the show by Ready Player One kind of idea of
Yes.
the iconography of the world. Right. Okay.
Yeah. But you're working it through like robotics and stuff like that. That
Right.
I
Exactly.
like that.
So
That's
because
really cool,
exactly.
right? Yeah.
Right. That's an interesting idea.
Yeah. Also, there's a blink in your moment, blink in your missing moment, referencing Transformers of all things, right? All I would
Right.
say is without spoiling much, the last two Transformers, the ones that I despise the most, even though a certain character was in it,
Okay.
that's all I say without spoiling anything.
Right.
It's
So
a
yeah,
nice
this song,
90s
yeah, this song,
reference. I was like, oh, okay, I see what you did there. I see what you did there,
yeah, I
Russos.
get it.
That was cool.
Yeah, this. Okay, so it's sounding like they're more trying to make the Ready Player One more than anything. That's how it's sounding like. But like
I guess so. Yeah.
it pick it up a little bit, or like where does the emoji movie that kind of appeal into pop culture?
Wow, the
But
emoji movie, us. That's what you. Oof.
well, no, you see, because I gotta like the little or nobody movie coming across like a cynical attempt to appeal to that kind of pop culture. No? So is that I don't know.
Yeah. Because that's as a wrap up here, right? Because I do think, especially in this decade, right, we could see more retro '90s content, right? That's how last decade we had a lot of '80s, like retro '80s stuff, right? And slight spoiler, I would like to put out some stuff, like create some content around '90s nostalgia, but do it in a really smart, clever way. That's all I'll say, right?
Right.
So it does that, and I actually like that. I think that it is a really smart call, right? But outside of those things, this is just stuff that aesthetically and thematically you've seen before. You've seen premises like this before.
Right.
I'll throw this out. Like the drone robots, for example. I was watching that, I was like, oh, this is like Chappie, the sort of humanoid look. If you know what I talk about, right? The sort of humanoid robot look. I was like, this is like Chappie. Like it gave him some Neil Blomkamp vibes there, in terms of actually good thing I bring that up too. Yes, it has some Neil Blomkamp like vibes to it too.
Right.
With the
Right.
realistic in quotes take on, something very dystopian or very futuristic, right? It's like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
And good thing I bring up the creator too, because yes, it also touches on AI and stuff like that. Now, again, it's just stuff that we have seen before, right? But because it is based off a source material that I know, even though I haven't read the material, yeah, probably did way more, aesthetically and thematically with the conceit. Yeah, it's kind of unfortunate that you see this show and it's like, yeah, but this kind of basic though, you know what I mean? Like, it just, like, again, there's nothing really, in other words, there's nothing really spectacular or extraordinary or mind blowing when it comes to just the story itself, right? Or the robots, or just anything with the show period, right? So yeah, going back to that budget one more time now, it just kind of leave you wondering, yeah, where that money went. Where did that money go? Because it certainly was not on the visuals. Because if
yeah,
you
well,
spend the money on just
in the
making
actor's
like
pocket, right?
spectacular visuals, then if I saw it in cinema, I would have been like, yeah, the story was blah, man. I mean, them visuals look great though. You know what I mean? Like look
Right.
at that, and you could tell somebody, hey, go cinema and see it just for the visuals. But as I wrap things up here, it is, for better or for worse, a Netflix show. It is one
Right.
of those shows that when you watch it home, you'll be like, all right, I saw it home. I spent 2 hours watching it. Okay, fine, and then you move on. It is one of those shows. Is that one of those shows that unfortunately you'll be like, boy, I would have enjoyed it more if I saw it on the big screen. No, this is Netflix material, true and true. This is something I've been doing for years, and yeah, unfortunately, this is the kind of stuff they're gonna be doing, yeah, for the rest of their lives, right? Where I don't understand it from a business model, right? You want to get people out of the cinemas. You want them to stay home and watch movies that are the equivalent of a blockbuster film. So yes, bring a big name actor like Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
But bringing somebody who is one sec, but bringing somebody who is synonymous with Netflix and the shows that we are known for, like a Millie Bobby Brown. She's well known for Enola Holmes and Stranger Things. She'll bring in that cell, right? But then when you see it for yourself, that was like, it's fine. That was a good way to kill 2 hours at a time. All right, cool. But if you saw it in cinema, you would have probably asked for your money back quick, because yeah, just aesthetically and thematically, it just doesn't do anything really spectacular. That's unfortunate. And it just really sucks, because I know, again, even though I have already source material, the book did more than the movie did, right? That's the unfortunate side of things, right? So if I just get to rating quickly, decent a strong 2.5 out of 5. See it if you want to. If you have a Netflix subscription and you just have nothing to do, watch it. If you're curious, watch it. If you care to see it, watch it, But if you don't care for this at all, if you're not a Millie Bobby Brown fan, if you're tired of Chris Pratt just being in every show, I mean, look, just last year, this man was in 2 shows, and like every year, this man just shows up in like 2 movies, But if you're just tired of Chris Pratt and, it just, I don't know, you're just looking for something different, which is funny because that was what Mickey 17, I would argue, was aiming towards. It was trying to do something different. It's just, I don't know, maybe it was a little too unconventional for its own good, I guess. Just thinking back at it. But yeah, if you're just looking for something a little bit more unconventional, yeah, unfortunately you will not get that here with this movie, right? So yeah, at the end of the day, not the worst show I see, but far from the best that I've seen. But again, that budget is kind of ridiculous, and people will be talking about that by years end. Like, wow, like
Well,
spent
yeah,
all that money
another
there. Like, wow, on this? Are you serious?
another factor on the budget is it could be just on the option of the book itself. So it's like, oh, okay, the option on the book, and they push to get it. And Netflix is the thing with Netflix. They seem to spend a lot more money. It feel like if at times, especially lately, they have more money than sense. So they look like they probably throw way too much cash for this thing. Thanks, Joe.